Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
The #1 long-form writer that helps SEOs outrank competition at the click of a button using real-time research and NLP. Start ranking content today with content@scale.ai.
Thank you, Julia. One of the few words that I learned in German since been living there is Schnitzelkoma. That is what you feel after lunch, so I hope you guys are not feeling that right now. I was also talking to Julia that she also is amazing Spitfire. Is that how you say it? She spits fire, and she could use that to give us some energy, but apparently it's a fire hazard and we can't. Anyways, excited that you all are here and you chose this talk today. And so who am I? So hello, fellow nerds. I'm also a nerd. I'm also a husband, a dad, a very special moment for me because now we have a different kid coming up. So now it's a boy, and we are figuring out the name. Believe me, we tried ChatGPT to find easy names, and still not there yet. I'm doing SEO since 2008 when I started in an agency as a software engineer, and things that I've developed from there. I worked in agencies in-house, many different clients, my own companies. I still own an agency back in Brazil where now I'm only an advisor. But since 2022, I've been the director of SEO at Sixt. A little bit of a plug, but actually not for the reason my employer would like to. So they would like me to talk about all those cool numbers. And despite we having 270,000 cars worldwide, including our franchisees, the part that I like the most is that I get to work with 20 amazing SEOs. And really, we have 20 in-house SEOs in the company, and this is an opportunity that I'm having for the first time, and I'm loving this. How we structure the team, that might be interesting for you to know, is we structure the team based on specialties, and then on top of these specialties, we have the product specialists, so how to do car rental or car sharing or ride-hailing in many different contexts. And this is a little bit of the team. There are more people there. And we throw every year this small conference called SEO Wiesen, where we gather around 50 SEOs in Germany, in our office there in Germany, to talk about SEO and just then have fun at Oktoberfest after that. There, of course, are not pictures of Oktoberfest. Okay, so you're not here to hear me talking about Sixt. So what I can say is, as a kid, I was the kind of person that I broke things down. And sometimes I could put them back together. Sometimes I couldn't. I better would have, because my mom otherwise would kill me. But I think that this comes from the fact that I want to know how things work. And by breaking things down, it allows me to see that. And I want you guys to have this in mind when when I'm going through the other slides and thinking about how can I break down my competitors' strategy by looking at their website in a different manner. Let's talk about DOM. That's the root of all this. So for those uninitiated, DOM is basically the version that is in memory of your HTML source code. So think about it as a tree with elements and attributes and text. That's basically it. XPath is a way to navigate through DOM. Think about a query language as a SQL, for example, but for HTML. It comes from XML, so used to store information, and then you can also use it there. This is the syntax where it more or less looks like. I have more examples there. If you've worked with XPath, you're probably more used to this kind of syntax, which is called the abbreviated syntax, and solves 99% of the issues. But sometimes you can only solve things with this extended syntax. It looks funky, but sometimes it is the best way to find the element you're looking for on a page. For example, these are the same thing. The second just looks a lot easier, right? It works with a few selectors. So as a language, it has some sort of syntax on some elements. So you have 1/ selecting this element, 2/ this element, and everything after that one. You have an at symbol to symbolize an attribute. Attribute, it's easy to remember. Parent with 2 periods. So if you're using command line for long, you know what that means. And point or period is just the current directory. You can have filters with brackets to specify even further what you want to find on the page. And then asterisk for any element and a bunch of cool functions. So a few of the useful ones is text, to extract the text from the element. So imagine that P there has a text, and then there's the closing P. With the text function, you're just extracting the text from that. Contains is to find things. You can find things inside the text or inside the attributes of an element. Normalized space is very useful when you have a situation where the HTML is pretty formatted, so you have tabs or spaces on the text that you are extracting, and it looks awful when you are extracting it. So normalized space basically trims all that. So you get only the text that matters to you. And the others are pretty straightforward. For example, let's say you have an element. This is an XML element, or it could be an HTML element as well, called author. Here, you are finding all elements after author, but you are filtering and selecting only those where the text contains. So the point means this current element. So me, author, it contains Matt. It starts with G, simple. Matches opens a whole new world because matches allows you to use regular expressions inside XPath. So all of you who have used or learned to use at one point VLOOKUP, pivot tables, things like that, learning XPath is as groundbreaking as learning any of that. And the same thing when you learn regular expression. It just opens a new world of things that you can do when doing your analysis. This is how you find the first element. Sorry, developers, it's not indexed in 0. For some reason, XPath is indexed at 1. Finding the last element, so the last H3 element on a page, the one before last, you know the drill. Finding all images without an alt tag. Image, not alt, simple. Now, all my images with an alt tag. There you have it. However, it also finds images with empty alt tags. If you want all images that have an alt with text, then you need to be a little bit more specific. Here's a scary tree that you only have to look at least once in your life and then never again, or only have it printed somewhere to remember it. How you find, so coming from the self, so my element, what are the siblings, parents, descendants, and how to navigate through that. If you've used XPath at some point, you know that it's a lot easy to select elements through their ID or through a specific CSS class that it might have, but sometimes they don't, and that's where this becomes very handy. Let me show you how to use that on Google Sheets. This is a simple page, right? This is the page here on Brighton for a speaker. It has the name, the job description of the person, and my mini bio, and a few social links. This is the cleanup version of that HTML, just for sake of simplicity here. You have an H1, and right after that H1, you have a sibling that is a div with then the job description of the person, and then you also have a 1P element on the page, so that's easy to select, and a few links after that. But I wanted to also strip out all the other identifiers to show you how to navigate when you do not know how to find the specific element through that. So for example, you have on Google Sheets, the formula that is going to save your life is import XML. Import XML takes 2 parameters. First, the XPath, and second, the URL. In this case, D1 is where I'm storing the URL. You can also use references for the XPath as well. So you can have a formula or a very big spreadsheet with a bunch of XPath that you want and a bunch of URLs, and it will just extract it. And it's super fast and easy to use because also you can just change the URL, and boom, it loads the page and it gets you the information there. It's super straightforward to use. So I'm taking the title of the page, I'm taking the first heading of the page. For the third example, you see that I'm joining everything. Why am I doing that? Because here on this example, you see that there, between the brand name, the company I work for, the title, and my in-house dad joke specialist, there are a bunch of spaces, and sometimes this could also be tabs, and Google Sheets thinks those are column separators, and things look very weird, like it breaks all of that in each column. And if you want to extract that, that's not very handy, because you do not control what's coming from the page. And if you do not know, it can break your spreadsheet. So it's just easier to join everything. Join's a function on Google Sheets that takes 2 parameters. You see that I'm kind of ignoring the first one. This is telling it to join with anything. I'm joining the result of that XPath. And then I get everything in one cell. Super easy for me to analyze later. For the second one, I'm doing a little bit of navigation because I know that it's the next div after my H1. It's the sibling. So I'm using now extended format for you to find the element. And then on the last example, I also wanted to show that if you have multiple occurrences of the XPath, Google Sheet will give you each result in one line. That's also super handy for analyzing big things. How to use that on Screaming Frog? This is the most cool part, the coolest part, sorry. Screaming Frog, ever since forever, has been enabled you to search elements or extract elements using either CSS selectors or XPath selectors. I suck at CSS selectors, so I like XPath better. But now, since version 19, it also helps you to find the XPath to a element, which usually, traditionally, you would go through either try to write them by hand, which takes a little bit of work, or you would go through Chrome DevTools and try to copy element and find the copy XPath to it. Now you don't need that. You just go through you open Screaming Frog, you go, since version 19, okay, so launched a couple of months ago now. You just go there to the big road icon, you paste the URL, you press enter, boom. It already loads the page to you. And now it's pretty much as you would expect on Chrome DevTools when inspecting an element. And you told me to click like I mean it, okay. And here you see that I found, what I'm looking here is, in my case, I have a situation where my CMS is fantastic for many things, giving me all the information that I can see on the page. So how many pages I have, 2, 3, 4, 12 content boxes for me, I don't know that. And it's much easier for me in my end to do that via crawl. So what I do is I want to see what are the titles that I have in my content boxes and how many. So I just went there and clicked on the title of the content box, and it told me here, H3. That's it. But it also found this. This is also an H3 on the page, and I do not want that. Originally, or traditionally, what I would do, I would go back there and try to find which H3 is it, is there any div surrounding it, or whatever. Now I can just go there in suggestions and click one by one until I find one that works. And that one works. Super, super easy, and you can explore it as much as you want. Then you just go to extract inner HTML or text, whatever works best for you. You can just try and click OK and see what happens. Here it's a little bit hidden, but you can also see there's a previous and next. So you can use this interface also to go and use it to create multiple extractors for you in one place. It's super, super handy, as I said. And I'm not being sponsored by them. I wish, though. And in my case, I also want to know how many content boxes. Because I'm lazy, I do not want to count that elsewhere. So I just take that XPath, copy, paste below, surround it via the count function that's also on XPath, and tell me to return the function value. Simply. That's what I get in the end. I get the text for all those content boxes and the result of that function. What do I do with that? I tell you with a different example. Let's say I am working in e-commerce, and I don't know if working with this SEO text is worthy or not of my money and my time. It is a big question because it can come with a big price tag on it, because especially if you're working on a very big site. So in this example, I took this e-commerce, And I found out that below the page, on the category page, they have this text. So I go there, use Screaming Frog, and I find out what is the extractor for that specific element. I run that. Sorry. So why I use this is to see if my competitor is using, in which categories are they using it, and if there's any category they're using more, and why, and why, and why I want to know that. I go there on Screaming Frog, I set it up as I showed you before. You see here, what I find is that I have many results that only have like a short description. I'm not considering that as specifically SEO text, probably just some leftover from their CMS. I don't want to bother with that. So I would just consider that anything above 100 characters is a page with SEO text. I export this crawl, and then I analyze this on Screaming Frog, on Google Sheets, sorry. I upload it, and you see that I'm analyzing the site, so breaking it down. I saw that whenever they have /C, it's a category page. OK, so I want to see category pages. I go there on column BO. You have the formula, and then has SEO text. I'm just checking if it has over 100 characters. And then finally, I also understood that sometimes their category pages can be filtered. So imagine sneakers white, sneakers Adidas, and so on. So I also want to understand this behavior between different types of pages. And here I have it. I just pivot that result. And I can see that for their filtered category pages, they basically do not have. There is maybe one result that has it. I'm curious to see that one. I will analyze it later. But I also see that for, let's say, more than half of their category pages, they do not have this text. Interesting. Now I can also go one step deeper. I can extract these URLs from my competitor from Ahrefs, for example, and do an analysis saying, OK, what is the sum of visits for pages that do have this text or not? And I can see if they are using it on pages that have the text or not. And if the pages are performing better or not. If I do this constantly, I know where they are adding new text and what is being the output on their visits. This is just one example. Another one is I want to know how many products do my competitors have. In this example, it's a very difficult one. It took me a bit to figure out because if you look at the HTML there is no way for me to identify this specific element. It does not have an ID product count, class product count, nothing like that, which usually happens. So what I had to do is I had to be a little bit more creative, and so I saw that this here is a div surrounding that has the ID listing. So I want to narrow it down to avoid maybe finding a result that is not really what I want. Inside that, I want any div where the text contains Ergebnisse. That's how many results there are. And simple, again, I can just extract this and maybe put this on a Google Sheet, and every day open this Google Sheet, and I see the product count evolution for my competitor per category. One other thing that I would like to know as well is if indexability is a question for me, I want to know where are my competitors creating links to. So here I have a summer dress page, and I can see that, for example, they have smock summer dress, whatever that means, backless, shift, and shirt summer dresses. And there are many more. I found out that they have all this pill-shaped, the pill-shaped visibility, no, layout, I think that's the word. And also I can use this to extract these elements and use it for keyword research on my end. What are the keywords that my competitor are also willing to index pages on? That might be interesting. So I found out that also their class calls pill something, easy. So I want to use here a selector to have any A element that contains, or the class contains pill. Why I'm using that and not specifically the class that I'm seeing? Because that, you see that it looks weird. It can change between versions of the page. So I am doing something that is a little bit more sustainable. Where else can you use XPath? So you can use it directly on, when you open the DevTools on Firefox, on Safari, whatever, you can just press Control F, and it will open a mini search inside that. There you can put an XPath, and you will find an element for you. It's good for testing. You can also use it on, well, I showed you Google Sheets to have a live sheet for you that extracts this every time you open it. You can use it on Selenium to find elements on a page as well if you want, or even Scrappy to extract and create a very nice scraper from your competitors' data to analyze it even further. On Content King and many other site monitoring tools as well. So let's say you have, again, an e-commerce, and I cannot afford to have less than 100 laptops on my page. I go to my laptop page, I put it as a selector, and it will alert me anytime this number goes below that. It also is it could use as a competitive intelligence tool as well. Wrapping up, think about elements that you can use to break down your competitor's strategy. Find a great path, a great XPath to it, and you'll hate XPath until you love it. You will use this to break it down more and more. I put up a few resources here in case you're curious. The first one is especially amazing. It's where I took that main looking image with the structure. And that's it. I hope you learned something today. Thank you very much, guys.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.